Good evening. My name is Eugene Peterson. I'm the chair of the Arundel County Human Relations Commission. The Human Relations Commission was established initially through executive order, but in 2020 election, we were put into the county charter. We're now a chartered commission, and with the direct responsibility for investigating alleged housing discrimination. We have on the county website a web page where you can go and find the place where you can register any alleged discrimination for housing, a form, and we will get back to you on your alleged housing discrimination issue. We also are charged with making Anne Arundel County the best place for all by working hard to eliminate any and all discrimination and its vestiges. Tonight, we're going to depart a little bit from the usual agenda where we call to order and go immediately to the roll call because we have a special guest who's doing something that we all should do as parents. She's, I believe, at her daughter's volleyball game. That's Major Goodwin, and she will give us now a presentation, since we have so many new members, on how we report hate bias incidents in the county and in the interface with the state reporting system. So
good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Major Gooden.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to do it this way. On top of me being a police major, I'm actually a mother of 4. So as you can tell, my evenings are pretty packed with running from kids' sports events. But this is really important to me. So I appreciate you inviting me to the meeting so I can kind of explain how our police department handles these types of incidents. So with hate bias incidents, we take that as a priority for our police department. We understand the sensitivity of it. And the urgency of it as far as our response goes. So we are very proactive on how we respond to police hate bias incidents and hate bias crimes. So everyone understands that even if a crime has not been committed, so the majority of ours in the county are more of a hate bias incident, not a crime's been committed, but a derogatory word's been used or someone that is a protected class has been offended. Regardless if a crime's been committed, we handle it the same way. So we do have a police response. Our officers do go out. We take a police report that's written where we try to talk to the victim, and we also try to locate and identify the suspect and include that in our report. We also take it another step where for any hate bias incident or crime that's been committed, we actually have a supervisor respond to that scene to speak with the victim. There's very few incidents where we have supervisors actually respond to a specific crime. Usually it's our home invasions, our robberies of citizens, burglaries, police-involved shootings. Hate bias incidents, because of the uniqueness of it, is one of those crimes that we have our supervisors actually respond to the scene to talk to the victim, to provide resources. So we take it very seriously. And I know a lot of times people ask, there's a difference between the stats that we report to the Human Relations Commission, to the county executive, and then what's reported to the state. Why there's such a discrepancy in the reports are once it gets to our central records folks that actually review the reports, those crimes are reported to the state, which I'm sure everyone has seen now, the state police's report on hate bias incidents in Maryland. There's a difference in the numbers. That being because we report on everything, regardless if a crime has been committed or not, because we take that seriously, we report those. Those incidents don't, however, get reported to the state. They're only looking for the ones that also are associated with the crime. So a lot of times what you see with a hate bias incident, the crime that's going to be committed associated with that are going to be things like threats, harassment, destructions, assaults. Those are the ones that are going to actually be reported to the state. But because we take reports on ones where it's just a derogatory word's been used, someone's felt offended by something and no crime's been associated with that, we also take reports on that. So if you want to say we kind of over-report on the hate bias incidents. You can say that. So that's why there's a discrepancy between what we report in-house to the county and what goes actually to the state.
Okay, Major, could you tell me exactly why we would categorize those other incidents and what the department does with that trend data?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So it's important for us, if people always say, well, if you don't report it to the state, why do you even take a report on it? Because it's just as important. A lot of times the ones that we see, the majority of them, it starts with a neighbor dispute. It can be something very silly as far as arguments over where cars are parked in front of the houses, to trash being taken out. And then it starts escalating to name calling. And that's where you start seeing the derogatory language and the offensiveness. We want to be able to identify those problems before it becomes very serious. Because what happens is it starts getting out of control, as you can say. It starts to escalate. It starts with a very simple neighbor dispute. It turns into name calling, which turns into a racial situation, which then can maybe sometimes turn it into a crime or an assault or a destruction. So before that happens, we want to be able to identify those situations so we can kind of intervene and prevent that from happening. So we do partner up with the Conflict Resolution for Anne Arundel County. They have a mediation service. Miss Georgia Noon, if you've met her before, I know she was part of the Human Relations Commission before. We partnered up with her group. So a lot of times when we identify those neighbor situations where it's starting to escalate and it turns into a racial issue, we will refer them to this mediation group so they can kind of sit down. A lot of times it's about educating. Sometimes, and I've always said this before, and I apologize if this group has heard it before, but the whole adage about words, sticks and stones can break your bones, but names can never hurt me. We try to educate people because and realize that people that don't understand that sometimes when they use a derogatory word, it's hurtful and it's offensive. And a lot of times they don't understand the true meaning behind that word and how it offends a person. So we try to take those opportunities as educational, where we can explain to somebody why that's a hurtful word and why it shouldn't be used as part of their vocabulary. So we try to turn it into an educational situation where we can try to prevent that from happening. So a lot of times it's awareness. People say a word, kids, we see it all the time in schools. They use a word not knowing what it means, and not knowing how hateful it is and how it hurts someone's feelings. So if we can take that opportunity to sit down with them and educate them a little bit more on why it's so hurtful, we try to counteract that behavior and try to minimize that from people using those kind of words. But we can't do that unless we report it. It's no different than any other crime. When we have a situation where we have a series of citizen robberies in one area, we don't know to put more resources there unless it's reported. So same thing with hate bias incidents. Unless we know there's a racial issue there, we won't know that unless it's reported to us. And we take those reports, and that's when we take a look at it and we try to intervene with that community to see if there's more that we can do as a proactive approach to try to minimize that and try to keep it from escalating to something that's a little bit more serious. So reporting to us is very serious. I always like to say that we get the Integrity Award for every year for what we report. And when you look at some of the statistics from other counties in the state where they're reporting 0 offenses, I find that highly unlikely. But that's, the uniqueness of it is that we're honest in what we report because we take it seriously and we need to know where those problems are in our county so we can address them quickly.
Major, a couple other things, and I'll let you go because I see the game is heating up. Do you have additional staff to do this? I know you have full responsibility for patrol, and I think that's your mission, but this is something you're doing as an additional duty. Do you have any other staff that are involved with you?
So I'm pretty much the liaison. So I'm the one that kind of overlooks all the reports. I correspond obviously with the Human Relations Commission and the County Executive's Office when it comes to that. All of our officers are basically, those individuals are the ones that take it seriously. Our supervisors are the ones that go out and respond to it. Our intelligence unit, if it's something that's more not an isolated incident, but a group that's a hate group, the white supremacists, if there's an incident where involving like the KKK, something that's more of an organized effort, that's when our intelligence unit becomes more involved, and they'll open up an actual investigation on those. But we've been fortunate enough that we haven't seen that kind of incidents in the county in a while now. So it's more of those individual ones that we're looking at. And like I said, for the majority in our county, it's a lot what we're seeing in the trend is really those neighbor disputes in the communities, or someone walking into a convenience store not happy with the service, and then words are exchanged between the employee and the customer. And then obviously schools prevents another whole situation for us. The 30% of our hate bias incidents occur in the schools, which I can probably say is why we've seen a decline this year as opposed to last year. This year we reported 59 incidents. Last year we were at 81. With schools not being open and students were home learning virtually, that's probably why we saw a little bit of a decrease for 2021's reported offenses, or 2020 reported offenses, because like I said, when schools make up 30% of those students weren't in school, that's probably why we saw a decline for last year.
You mentioned the schools, and I guess I'm wondering, would it be helpful for the commission if we had your counterpart at the school district come and talk to us about what they're doing? Because it seems to me that that's something that would be useful for the commission to hear.
Absolutely, I think that would be a great idea.
Okay.
And we do work very closely with the schools. That's another bonus when we have school resource officers in the schools, is they're addressing that very quickly with the students. We try to sit down and do a diversion with them, especially with the kids. That's when we really take that opportunity to do a diversion with them. And we've sent kids, that have marked up locker rooms with graffiti and such, that's derogatory in nature, where we've done history lessons with them. We've sent kids to the Holocaust Museum, to the African American Museum. We really try to do a intervention with the kids, because a lot of them, they don't understand when they're saying things, what the true meaning is and how hurtful that is. So the schools is a great opportunity for us to really get involved with those kids and just try to change their mindset on their behavior.
Okay, Commissioner Hatcher, you had a question?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Goodwin. I just had a quick question, and I think you kind of stated a little bit. My question was, I know you are the liaison and kind of probably a one person show in regards to this, hate bias campaigning. But my question to you was, do you have something in the plans for doing more of like a counter hate bias outreach or information just to the general public or to the schools before incidents actually happen, just to just kind of keep awareness and kind of help prevent these occurrences from happening?
Yeah, that's a great issue that you raised. And yes, we did. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we stopped doing it, but we started having town hall meetings where we were talking about race and race issues. It was very well received. We did a couple panels. It was about 2 hours long, where we kind of talked about what we do in the county and the resources that we have. We broke down into smaller groups. This happened at the community college. I'd love to see this happen again. I know with COVID, it's been a little tricky, and I'm hoping that once we get past this, we can start doing those kind of panels, because it all comes down to having those hard discussions and getting people to the table and having those open dialogues, and for people to understand where other people are coming from. And as long as you can start having those conversations, and sometimes they're difficult, but when you get people to the table and you start talking about it, it starts growing an understanding and a mutual respect. But it was something that we really loved doing. I think we got 3 under our belt before we had to stop doing it for COVID. So I'm hoping once we get past that point, we can start opening those kind of town hall meetings and forums and start having those hard discussions again, because it is beneficial, I think.
Definitely so, especially with the climate that we're currently in. January 6th insurrection that just happened.
Yep.
And one of the other things I just wanted to kind of just throw out there as well, I remember growing up and having assemblies and having groups come in to have kind of skits or performances. So have you ever thought about maybe partnering up with, performing arts or a student council or anyone that would be able to kind of helps that hate bias interaction.
Absolutely. I am open to any type of suggestions, any kind of ideals, anything that's outside the box, anything that's engaging that keeps people's interest and gets them into attendance. I am all for. So I think that's a great suggestion, and I'd be more than willing to work on that and try to get that moving. I think it's a great idea.
Commissioner Daydoni.
Major Goodwin, thank you very much for being with us again. Very much appreciated. I'm impressed with the actions that the police are taking with respect to, I'm going to call it prevention, or at least prevention of acceleration of hate bias incidents. Can you name any other areas in the work that the county police do where you are equally or nearly equally or more aggressively looking at prevention activities?
As far as different crimes, or are you talking about specifically hate bias? All
not
crimes?
not just hate bias, but this is a place where you're doing more than stopping the problem once it happens. You are working to prevent the problem from growing bigger.
Correct.
What other areas are, because I believe the disparities of the disparities that affect our culture manifest in all domains. What other areas is the police department working in to accomplish prevention?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a very, very progressive diversion program that focuses more on the children, where we do a pre-arrest. So now with all crimes, as long as it's their first offense, we put them through a pre-arrest diversion. So they're not being issued a juvenile citation. They're actually going through one of our diversion programs, which we're trying to get to the root cause of the issue. Why is this juvenile acting out? What is going on in the family? We're trying to find out what the root cause is. And sometimes a lot of it comes down to mental health. It comes to substance abuse. It comes to going on with what's going on with the family. And we link them up with the resources within the county. And a lot of times it comes down to our mobile crisis response team that assists in that area. We also just recently started a reentry program where these are adults that have been incarcerated, usually for low-level offenses that are now, we all know if they're going back to those same environments that they were brought into before they were arrested, most likely they're going to commit crimes again. So we have actually started a reentry program where we now take these adults and we put them through a 15-week schooling where they actually come out of that school with a certain trade, whether it's HVAC, culinary, CDL license. They graduate through the program and then we assist them in finding jobs. We're very proud of this program. We just graduated the first class of 6, probably the finest men I've ever met that were very dedicated, that went through that program. 3 of them now have full-time positions, jobs that they're carrying. So it's little things like that. You know, if we can do that for 6 more adults, and we're just now opening it up to females. So we just got a woman coordinator on board with us. So we're going to start working with the women that have been incarcerated because that's a bigger issue. But all these preventive things that we're doing constantly, whether it's a diversion program, whether it's this reentry program, anything that we can do to prevent that is always going to be a win for us. So we've got some really unique, progressive, outside the box thinking programs going on in the department that we're extremely proud and excited about right now.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Don't see any other questions or comments from commissioners. Thank you, Major Goodwin. I hope your daughter is successful tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And it is volleyball, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm juggling between volleyball and soccer tonight, but yes.
Oh, two for one. Very good.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And we always appreciate what you do. And thank you for your service to the county.
Well, thank you. And we always appreciate your support. And I look forward to meeting the group face to face, hopefully in the near future.
Yes. All right.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Now we'll move to the more traditional meeting roll call. Secretary Daydoni.
I'm going to ask you to unmute and speak your name so that the audio record will reflect your presence. Tosin Agbula.
Tosin Agbula, present.
Thank you very much. Lakeisha Hatcher.
Lakeisha Hatcher is present.
Thank you. Faye Gaskin.
Faye Gaskin is present.
Eugene Peterson.
Eugene Peterson is present.
Thank you. Is Commissioner Khalid Saeed with us today? Not at the moment. Commissioner Katie Edwards.
Katie Edwards is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Jakayla Call.
Present.
Commissioner Mary Dodoni is present. Commissioner Mark Apter.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Joseph Clapsaddle.
Joseph Clapsaddle, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Laura Farinas.
Laura Farinas, present.
Thank you very much. And youth member Tara Kim.
Tara Kim, present. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Oh, we have a quorum.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Secretary Dodoni. If I missed anybody on this introduction of commissioners, and I don't know if I missed you, Commissioner Call, but if I did, I apologize. The idea here is for everybody to basically tell us a little bit about yourself and why you why you wanted to be a commissioner. And we'll start with, and this is a welcome to all of you from all of the other commissioners, including myself. And we'll start with Commissioner Edwards.
All righty. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Didn't know I was going to be placed on the spot, but I'm happy to be here. All right. So as you know, my name is Commissioner Katie Edwards. I live in Annapolis. My family has been here for about 50 years, give or take. They have created a lot of education and artistic opportunities for youth and adults for many years. Personally, my background is in behavioral health and harm reduction and advocating for overdose prevention sites. And alongside that, ensuring that folks have fair housing within those parameters. This is an experience that I take from working in the Southwest, mostly in New Mexico, but I returned about 3 years ago to help take care of family and have become involved in community and feel very honored to have been given the opportunity to listen and learn and contribute my energy and my time and my wisdom from the behavioral health realm on this commission. So I hope that is an adequate response, and I'm sure I'm honored to be here. So thank you, Commissioner Peterson.
You're welcome. More than adequate. Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Languidi Farinas. Hope I got it right.
Yes, it's fine. Thank you. My name is Laura Languide. Farinas, we carry two last names. I'm original from Bolivia, and I've been here for 16 years. And I've been involved in the community. I volunteer in Glen Burnie, where we have a large Latino community. And I live in Cape St. Clair, but I always want to do more. And because I can see the needs of my community firsthand, and definitely sometimes we don't have a voice. Sometimes we don't represent our community. So this opportunity came, and I thought that was perfect. And I feel honored to be here to learn from all of you, and also to bring an insight from my community. You're mute.
Thank you, Commissioner Kim.
Hello, my name is Tara Kim. I am your student commissioner member. I'm a student at Chesapeake High School, and I was born and raised in Anne Arundel County. I come from a Korean background. Both of my parents are Korean, and I'm 17 years old. I got involved maybe within like the last year and a half with the Stewart Pittman's Youth Advisory Council, and I'm the equity coordinator for CRAS, the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. I really got involved partially due to connections, and I really enjoyed the community that was in Youth Advisory Council, and I really got involved in CRAS because I really enjoyed the students that were involved in it. And I really stayed because I became passionate about communications, equity studies, and the rise of Asian hate crime has definitely pushed me into kind of being more open and trying harder for my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Call.
Hi, everyone. As you know, I've been here for a few months, so I'll speak again. I am a sixth generation Lothian resident. I got involved in the community really heavily, I want to say last year when I graduated from college. I was an intern on the Prince George's County Police Reform Task Force following the death of George Floyd. I am currently advocating for the renovation of Sands Road Park in Lothian. The county executive and I have been working very closely for the past year on that. We're making progress. As of this week, we had a meeting and we had over 30 people join, so that was very great. I'm on the board of Ralph J. Bunch Community Center, helping with that as well. The county executive has been very great with helping getting that renovation fund. What I was going to say, I'm employed with the DoD, so I'm currently a personnel security specialist with them for over a year now. So I'm excited to be here and to be able to make a difference in different aspects and not just for social justice. Thank you.
Thank you all. The reason I did this was I think it's useful for the community to know the breadth of experience and talent that exists in the Anne Arundel County, and that people are willing to volunteer to serve in a non-paying capacity to help make Anne Arundel County the best place for all. So we're real excited about having a full load of commissioners now, and later we'll have our HRO speak to our ongoing work with trying to make our student member a voting member, which I think is really important. And now we'll move to the next item on the agenda. As you all are aware, the County Council had a meeting on Monday, and there was a very controversial issue that was put before the council. It was Councilman Volke's resolution or legislation. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I think it was legislation that would have amended the discrimination statute in the county to add a broad brush definition of discrimination that would include how people felt about being discriminated, about what people believed to be discrimination. And it was very interesting. All of you received, and I asked everyone, and that's why I testified, because you all were also concerned and wanted me to testify at the council about while this legislation may have been well intended, the end result of the legislation would have been to basically strongly inhibit, and in some cases eliminate the ability to discuss and use examples to help understand the impact of systemic discrimination in the workplace and in other areas in the county. It would also have had the effect of probably eliminating any kind of work the county could do to discuss the impact of unconscious bias and how that impacts individuals throughout their lives, and how it impacts how they see themselves and others. As you know, my testimony basically said that we favored an approach that would allow for the continued statutory definition of discrimination to remain, and to continue the efforts in the county to fight discrimination through the use of techniques that discuss unconscious bias and continued workplace discrimination of a systemic nature. And at this time, I might just turn it over just briefly, and I did not tell her I would do this, but I think that our HRO did a good job from the administration standpoint of talking about how this interfaced with federal regulations. So I wonder, Asha, do you have anything to add, or would you just leave it at that?
I think I would generally just leave it at that. We thought that the bill was bad. The administration felt that the bill was bad. Most of the people who came out thought the bill was bad. The people who sent testimony in thought the bill was bad. And ultimately, the majority of the council agreed that the bill was bad. And so it failed. You know, I feel like it's a little close for comfort. I wish it had not happened, but I think we see where the hearts and the minds of people are. And some folks made some really good points. The bill felt in spirit very, very disingenuous, and very, very politically motivated. And it is unfortunate to see bona fide discrimination issues being sacrificed for someone's, you know, political career or whatever it is as a talking point, and part of a more disturbing, larger national discourse. And so I'm just glad that the council did not pass that bill, but I do think it underscores the need for all of us to be vigilant and to be following these bills. You know, some of these bills have had support in other states and in other jurisdictions, and I think it's important for people to know that. It's not a given. You know, two more votes and we could have had a problem. So obviously we'd like to thank everyone who came out and supported. And it was nice to see our student, our new student commissioner give a statement. You know, it's good to see young people speaking out unabashedly about these issues. So thank you.
I echo that, Asha, and yes, I really appreciate Ms. Kim being there and speaking from a student perspective. I think she added a lot to the discussion, and her involvement, again, I think underscores the reason why students should be able to vote because they are active participants in this effort. I don't see any questions or comments, so I'd like to move on to Commissioner
Peterson.
Yes.
I'm raised sorry. My hand.
Oh, I did not see that. I'm sorry.
And I apologize, but I want to thank you and Asha and Tara for being there on Monday. I thought it was extremely, extremely valuable. And the only thing that I wanted to add to this is that we need to keep our eyes clearly focused on members of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education, because there are two members, which I'm not going to name today, who are involved in this for political reasons. And it is shameful that we would use our Board of Education for the county, our public schools, and our students as weapons. I'm just so thoroughly appalled by this kind of behavior on the part of two of the board members, including the current chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clapsaddle. Now I'd like to move on to commission updates and reports. Take it away, Asha.
Thank you. So we have a few things to go over this evening. first, I would like to talk about the Fair Housing Basic Training that we had on October 16th. I have sent a thank you to Keith Murky, our presenter from the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. I thought he did a great job. The material is not that stimulating on its own. And so I think he did a good job in making it engaging. I don't think anyone comes away from that training feeling like they know exactly what to do if they get a complaint, but I do think it gave enough of an overview that people understand what the protected classes are, and what the landscape that we're working in looks like, right? So we hope to continue to supplement that training so that, people know what's going on and really understand fair housing a little bit better. But I thought he did a good job. And Commissioner Hatcher, do you have a question?
The slides that he used to present, was he willing to share those slides? I think he did say that he would.
He did send them to me, and I did not send them to you guys, so I apologize. I'll go ahead and I'll forward those slides so you have them.
Thank you. And thank you very much.
Sure. I will go ahead and do that. And I'll be sending you guys just some training acknowledgements so that you know what you did in case you ever get asked for any reason what training you've had. You'll be able to look back and say when you were trained and what the training covered. Okay, next, our student board member who's already introduced or our student commissioner who's already introduced herself was appointed after being nominated by CRASC in accordance with the county code. And so we welcome her. I guess this is probably a good time to talk about the voting status. Eugene, do you want me to just sort of address it now?
Sure.
Okay, so the commission has expressed an interest in Ms. Kim or whomever the student commissioner is having full voting rights, and the county executive is 100% in support of that. He has assented to us doing that. We do have a little bit of a challenge that we're working through, and I have separately made Eugene aware of this. That is that if we give voting rights to Ms. Kim, we have an even number of voting members on the commission. So if there's a tie, there's a question about how to address that tie. What do we do about a tiebreaker? And so there are a couple of options that we're working through. One of the options that we're looking at is potentially increasing the number of commissioners by one more, so that we have one more person. And there are always good people who are willing and needed to serve. So we're looking at those options, and I'll be prepared to give you an update on that so that you have some choices. So that is good news. The complaint procedures for fair housing complaints. I think I've told you in our last 2 meetings that the County Office of Law was working with me to review those procedures. They got me final updated draft yesterday. So I'm working through that draft just so that you guys are up to speed on what's been going on and why it's been taking so long. We're trying to deal with 2 issues. One is, we want a procedural document that all of the commissioners will feel comfortable reading, that is clear enough and detailed enough that you know what to do. No one on the commission is a practitioner in this area, and so I think it's really important that the procedures are laid out clearly. That said, we also want to conform with normal legal protocols, and so the County Office of Law is making sure that, we're not sort of duplicating some of the stuff that's in the code itself, the law, in the procedures, right? And so that has been what we've been going back and forth on a little bit, but they understand what it is that we would like to do. And I believe that the draft that I got last night is going to accomplish that. It looked really good just from a cursory review. So I should be able to present that in further detail next meeting. In terms of updates from the county executive's office, just so that you guys are aware, we have been working on the language access plan for the county. And what that is a plan to ensure that people with limited English proficiency are able to engage with resources and services in a language that they can understand. And it also applies to our deaf and hard of hearing folks who might need sign language interpreters. So we have the county executive's office has allocated funds to every department in the county for them to begin to implement some measures and to develop their own departmental plans, right? So that, and the reason why that's important is, we have 30 departments. Each of them engages with people, different groups of people in very different ways. Some of our departments don't have a lot of face-to-face contact with people. They're really sort of internal. Some of our departments do a lot of external work and are communicating with lots of people. And so we had an analysis done by a consultant a couple of years ago. I will be presenting that analysis with Pam Jordan to the Immigrant Affairs Commission next month at their regular meeting. You guys, if you want to just attend, as viewers, spectators for that meeting, you're welcome to do so. If you want to hear more about the language access plan. And then we are going to be working on some legislation potentially around the language access issue so that it's codified, and then our departments have their marching orders, and we have a countywide plan that sort of encompasses the whole thing. So that is being worked on actively. Another thing that we wanted to make you aware of, and to anybody who's watching the meeting tonight, is that in the midst of all of our school bus challenges, Workforce Development is providing informational sessions about how to obtain a commercial driver's license B in 5 days at no cost. I think that is really important. You guys know that the county is desperately trying to find people to drive buses. And so, feel free to spread the word within your district about this opportunity. That's Workforce Development. And they're telling people how they can get a CDL license in 5 days at no cost to them. Obviously, there are requirements that you have to meet and all of that stuff, but I think it's worth letting people know that they should attend the informational session. Okay, in terms of events that we have coming up, Hispanic Heritage Month, you guys know, ended on the 15th. There were lots of great events. Sergio Polanco was instrumental. He's the county's multicultural affairs officer. He was instrumental in planning and coordinating some events with the business community and some community awareness events. And so that ended on the 15th. We are now in National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Today is actually Disability Awareness Day. And the Office of Aging and Disabilities is having an event tonight. It's actually going on right now, so we can't be there, obviously, but that is through the end of the month. And so there was a proclamation issued, and they're honoring Katie Collins Irkey, a member of the community, just so you guys know. The Gun Violence Intervention Team will be having a fall community meeting via Zoom on October 28th from 5 to 6:30. There are going to be data updates. There'll be a discussion about a suicide prevention toolkit. Registration for that event is required, but I just want to make you aware of that. It's the Gun Violence Intervention Team, and it's their fall community meeting via Zoom. So it's virtual. Anyone who's interested can attend. There will be a kickoff of the development of the Severn Center, which is a $15.7 million intergenerational facility that's being developed in the Severn community. The kickoff is going to be held on November 12th, 2021. It's in the day, so it'll be from 2 to 5:30 at the site, which is at 1160 Reese Road. If anyone's interested in attending, you do have to RSVP for the event, and that's it's being hosted by ACDS, just so that you guys are aware. All right, I'm just going to move on to police reports. So Major Goodwin gave you guys a good overview of how the police reporting for bias incidents works. I'm going to be honest, we've had a lot of reports since the last meeting. We've had 21 reports since the last meeting, and that's through October 17th. Last time I broke them out by district. It's a little difficult to do that without the exact address. And so this time I've just broken it out by town. So four of these incidents were in Glen Burnie West. 2 of them were in Linthicum Heights. 1 was in Crofton. 5 were in Annapolis. 1 in Laurel. 1 in Gambrels. 1 in Edgewater. 2 in Brooklyn. 1 in Odenton. 1 in Hanover. 1 in Pasadena, and 1 in Arnold. They primarily involved disorderly conduct, harassment, threats, and there were a couple of assaults reported. I just think that it is helpful to know that, these are a lot of verbal back and forth, a lot of name calling. And unfortunately, some of these are adults directing comments to juveniles. Some of these are happening at our schools with kids making comments. So, it's just so important to think about what it is that we say. I think it's just a divisive time in general, where as a nation and obviously as a county, the county is a microcosm of our country at large. And, there's some really disturbing interactions happening between people. And I think a lot of folks have a really short fuse right now. Some of these things start out, like Major Goodwin said, she's 100% right. You can see they start out as very small things that immediately, as they escalate, the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth is a racial slur or a homophobic slur or something like that. So I think that's something that we also have to be aware of. Finally, in terms of fair housing, I've gotten a number of inquiries about condos and housing conditions, which are things that we don't deal with. People are having issues with their condo boards, which is not new and it's not unique to Anne Arundel County, but we don't deal with those issues. So I'm trying to put together some frequently asked questions and a little guide that maybe we can use when we keep getting the same types of questions over and over so that we can make appropriate referrals. And we have 1 new fair housing complaint that came in. I am in the process of looking at that now.
I ask why a complaint about a condo board, if it's racially motivated, is not under our realm?
So I should have been a little bit more specific. It's not racially motivated. It's people who have just general issues with the operations of their condo boards. They feel that the condo board is either applying rules unfairly or is not doing what they're charged with doing under the bylaws. It's like administrative issues.
But that doesn't mean that if somebody comes to us and, makes a charge that's racially focused, that we can't deal with it.
Oh no! If the subject matter is right, we'll take it. Even we'll determine the legal sufficiency of the complaint. But certainly we would do our best to resolve whatever comes to us that's within the scope of the law. Yes, absolutely.
I share a couple of things.
Sure.
When you get that guidance, or do you plan to put it on our webpage when you circulate it to us?
Absolutely.
The commissioners will look at it, then we'll put that guidance for homeowner associations on our webpage. And then we have 2 documents that Major Goodwin sent to you and I did not send them out. I believe since we had the discussion with her, I guess it would be useful to send them to the commissioners, but it has a do not send to others requirement. So this is for commission eyes only, but I think it would be useful to send both the report, the annual report on hate bias complaints. I think she sent us that in her recent monthly report.
Yes, sure. I can take care of that.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for me?
Any other questions?
Well,
Okay,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
I think
Asha.
Mr. Doney has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
It's not a question. It's a thank you for the thoroughness and the focus and the clarity of your report. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. We'll go to I have to backtrack on the agenda. I was so excited to get our commissioners introduced that I forgot that we have to approve the minutes from July 1, July 17, and September 16. They were all sent out to the commissioners. If there are any technical changes, please let us know. If there are any substantive changes, we need those too. So any questions or comments about the minutes, because I'd like a motion to adopt all the minutes that you've been sent as with those caveats of technical and other.
Well, again, I want to thank the people who help us, in this case, Megan Brown, for taking the minutes. So while that's typically a secretarial responsibility, she does a better job than I can. But I am in a position to recognize that they are good minutes, that they're thorough and accurate, and that she builds them from the video recordings of these meetings. So I move to accept for our record the 3 sets of minutes.
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Clapsaddle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimously, minutes are adopted. Now we can post them. I believe the next item on the agenda is Commissioner Hatcher. Do you have an update from the Annapolis Human Relations Commission for us?
I do. So the Annapolis Human Relations Commission held their meeting on Monday, October 4th at 6:30. The chairman is Michael Keller. They had a quorum. And during their meeting, one of the special presentations was Vernell Jones, who is a leading civil rights and education advocate in Annapolis. He actually spoke about the Kerwin Blueprint of Education in Maryland that spoke mostly about the education system and also about the racial and income gaps when it comes to local and state by state and international comparison. He had some statistics involving our elementary to high school students in comparison to international, where these students stood on the range in regards to education and being prepared for college or career-based employment. It was very informative, and I think he would definitely be an advocate to come and speak to us about the Kerwin Blueprint for Education as well. Also at the time, the commission spoke about the approaching 2021 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast and the PACE Awards, or nominees for recognition of anyone who has actually showed humanitarian efforts, the same that Eugene, has sent out in regards to selecting or presenting nominations to be presented for the 2022 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Virtual breakfast that is coming about. And lastly, they were speaking about the vacancies that is currently in the commission. There's 15 statutory positions that needs to be filled at the very moment. And Chairman Keller is going to advocate to try to decrease that number of potential hires or fill-ins, not hires, but fill-ins, to drop that down to 12. And so he got a little bit of some foes and some against to fill those positions, because I guess the vacancies is kind of been vacant for a while. So they're thinking of maybe decreasing the numbers so that they can be more successful to fill in those positions. And the last thing I wanted to state, I think that was the last thing I wanted to state. Any questions for me of what I stated?
Okay. Oh. Does anybody have any? I don't see a hand. Are there any?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you for your report and your continued help in monitoring their activities. The next item that we want to look at, we have a subcommittee. I asked Vice Chair Clapsaddle, because we were inundated with the bulky legislation and some other things going on, that he could take the lead in looking for a PACE nominee with a subcommittee. And I have forwarded to all of you the nominations, and I'm going to let Vice Chair Clapsaddle lead us through a discussion of the information that you've been sent. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Dodoni had her hand up. Did you have a comment you wanted to make prior?
It's a question, and I don't have my agenda copy in front of me. Did you want a report on the education, AACPS Board of Education meetings?
Are you talking to me?
I was addressing that to Chairman Peterson.
We can, we don't have that on the agenda, but we could do that under, after the presentation by, since it is germane to our activities, after the presentation from Vice Chair Clapsaddle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Commissioner.
So,
Okay,
fellow commissioners, I especially want to add my welcome to Katie and to Jakayla and to Tara and to, and I don't think I've met you before, Laura. So it's a pleasure to have you all here and to work with us. The Human Relations Commission, every year, except last year during the pandemic, are charged with honoring an individual who has made extraordinary humanitarian contributions to Anne Arundel County. The individuals, their lives, their work, and their examples make our county a better place to live in, which is part of what we're all about as a Human Relations Commission. We were very fortunate this year to have Commissioner Dodoni, Commissioner Kim, and Commissioner Edwards as a part of this committee, and I very much appreciate all of their work with us in discussing the candidates. We're also honored to have 6 nominees: Laura Gutierrez, Charles Steen Farley, Maria Casasco, Jeremy Browning, and Drake Smith. You were sent, as Commissioner Peterson said, summaries of, and Jennifer, I forgot one, Jennifer Balducci. You were sent summaries of their background, and I'm going to ask the various members of our committee, the subcommittee, to just make a brief comment on each of them and then give you all an opportunity to ask questions, because the outcome of all of this is that we are charged this evening with making a decision about the nominee, because the deadline is October the 31st. And this is for the Martin Luther King breakfast that will be on January the 17th, 2022. So if I may start with Mary.
Can I ask a quick question?
You may.
I was told by somebody, and since we have the chairman of the breakfast committee here, that there wasn't going to be a prayer breakfast this year.
It will be virtual.
It'll be virtual. We're doing a virtual breakfast because of the
Right.
the pandemic. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Dodoni to give us a brief commentary on Charleston Farley and Maria Casasco.
Yes, and this will be a brief commentary. I'm going to start with Dr. Charleston Farley. She's been in Anne Arundel County for a very, very long time. She demonstrates success against reduced opportunity. She is a profoundly capable educator and community advocate and administrator. Some of you may remember her from being the dean of the, I'm sorry, I'm going to get the name wrong, but the not Banneker Douglas,
Sojourner Douglas.
Sojourner Douglas College, where she did an excellent job. And then more recently, she stepped into the role of being head of the, and I'm sorry again, Community Action Agency.
Anne Arundel
head
County
of the
Community Action Agency.
Which is really a clearinghouse and a center for community support activities. She's done an excellent job there. She's very highly respected. You can go almost anywhere, and everyone you know knows her. My first encounter with her was at an education forum at the Caucus of African American Leaders. She chaired this education forum, and it was about racial inequities. And it essentially 50 years after Brown versus Board, and more than 50 years after Brown versus Board, and what have we lost and what have we gained? I recommend her highly. I recommend all of the nominees highly. I have done an inadequate job of representing both what she has done for the county, an immense amount, and the model of excellence she represents for all of us. I'm very grateful that she's in the county. I believe you received a couple of articles that are from the newspaper that speak to her. I also hope that you have talked to some of your friends about everything that Dr. Charleston Farley has done for Anne Arundel County. Maria Casasco. Before the pandemic, the last time we were nominating a PACE awardee, Maria Casasco was on the very short list. And the decision was made that she had not been out of county government long enough for us to be comfortable nominating her for an award, because everything she had done was under the auspices of that time. What she'd done most recently at that time was under the auspices of her role of immigrant community liaison under the administration of County Executive Stephen Shue. I met her in person through my early days with the Human Relations Commission before we were reconstituted, where several of us were showing up at meeting after meeting and essentially functioning as a Human Relations Commission without formal appointment. That's perhaps overstating it. Her knowledge of community needs, her compassion, her clarity of thought are impressive. To say impressive is the least. You have also received a write-up from fairly recently from the Capital Gazette about Maria Casasco. I have more recently had the opportunity to serve with her on the board of directors for the Center of Help Central Deuda, and come to appreciate on a very personal level how closely connected she is to the immigrant community. And watch me carefully say immigrant. The main goal of the Center of Help, which she has supported for years in every way possible, is to help the immigrant community. And this does not mean exclusively Hispanic, although it is dominantly Hispanic. She continues to serve with the greatest of integrity, commitment, and deep insight into the need of the immigrant population of Anne Arundel County. Thank you for the opportunity. I would answer any questions to the best of my ability.
We'll hold for questions to the very end, please. Commissioner Edwards, I would appreciate your commentary on Laura Gutierrez.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Clapsaddle. Laura Gutierrez was originally born in Argentina and moved to the United States, lived in Davidsonville and Washington, D.C. She had her education in Philadelphia, and right at the beginning of the pandemic, moved to Annapolis and immediately secured a large amount of funding to do outreach and prevention in the community surrounding COVID. She basically hit the ground running without anyone telling her what to do or how to do it. And she had some incredible outcomes, especially within the Latino community. Her bilingual ability to go into the neighborhoods and communicate with folks that were experiencing numerous barriers, not only led to the prevention of the spread of COVID, but also securing housing, medical, mental health resources for folks around the city. The outcomes to her efforts were immense, and during that immediate response, she was able to distribute PPP, health education, and accessible vaccination clinics. So I really wanted to nominate Laura because she acted in the moment, and she was able to launch vaccination clinics for the entire city of Annapolis free of charge in minority neighborhoods. The initiative was quite impressive, and I believe on October 17th, she was also named a community hero by our Mayor Gavin Buckley. So she's obviously somebody who works hard and understands what it means to go into communities that are underserved and make sure that they are given resources adequately and immediately. And now it seems as if state and federal agencies are reaching out to her to learn from her methods and what she did to implement success here in the city.
Thank you very much, Katie. Commissioner Kim, I would like for you to comment, please, upon Drake Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner Clapsaddle. I can give my summary on Drake Smith. So Drake Smith is a Meade High School graduate. He graduated last year. And he was elected as Anne Arundel County student member of the board. I apologize. Before serving his term, he was the NAACP Youth and College Division's president. And I would say a large part of his involvement within the county has come from the acceptance of all cultures, especially his push for getting board recognition for Black Lives Matter. His term as student member of the board was very crucial during a very specific time. This was during COVID and the spark of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is something that was very dear to him and that he held very personally. I think a large part of his contributions also go towards the LGBTQIA+ community and his involvement in Let's Talk Justice, a student forum that communities of students were able to come together and talk about their experiences and educate others. He also was able to have a call out for action to write to Stuart Pittman and the county council members to allot budget for body cameras for all Anne Arundel County police officers. And this was also a very vital point in time with police brutality. And again, it was just his way of uniting a community together. I'm very honored to kind of put Drake Smith in this kind of position where I'm nominating him for the PACE Humanitarian Award. While I believe every candidate is a wonderful person to put in this kind of position, I just think that as a student member, I think I can also hold this very dear to myself. He made a huge impact within our county, being a part of Youth Voice.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kim. I'm going to comment upon two of the nominees. Jennifer Balducci. Here is an example of a young woman who is a very accomplished and highly accredited physical therapist who has reached out to a number of nonprofit organizations, and including the Arthritis Foundation, the SPCC, and different health and wellness seminars throughout the county, helping people who struggle with anything from disabilities to just general health. It's an example of a woman who does not place her own business ahead of her her contributions to her fellow community members. She's certainly done an outstanding job, and her nomination came to us through an independent source in the community, which I thought she was the only one which our committee did not, nominate internally or search out internally. She's worthy of our consideration. I look at this PACE Award in a certain way, and so I'm going to speak to you about Jeremy Browning. I met Jeremy when I first moved to Anne Arundel County because he was the founding chair of Annapolis Pride. Single-handedly, he had changed the landscape for acceptance and inclusion of the LGBTQ plus community in our county. The outcome of the first Gay Pride Parade in 2019 was just unbelievably successful. No one expected, everyone expected a few hundred people, and instead we had about 50,000. But more than that, Jeremy has tackled issues regarding the trans community, regarding how our public libraries interface with the LGBTQ plus community, and his work with the Board of Education. So I think while it's a little bit grand to say that that he did this all by himself, because he didn't, but I do think that he is an outstanding example of what an individual can do. On that note, if any of you have any questions about any of the nominees, this is the time to ask them. I will now pause for questions.
Have any of the candidates received county-wide or organizational-wide accolades, awards in the last few years?
Not that I know of, Mark. Not that I know of.
Any of the other nominees know of those? The nominators?
I don't believe so for Drake Smith.
And I have.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
There have been occasional recognitions at the Caucus of African American Leaders for some individuals. I know Drake Smith has been briefly recognized there within a single meeting. That's the most I can. And of course, he was applauded as a member of the Board of Education, but it was not a county-wide award.
And Laura Gutierrez was recognized by the Hispanic Caucus, I believe, but that was within the city, not countywide.
Dr. Fairley was also recently recognized by the YWCA.
Having said that, it is our job, and I'm going to step back now because we need to come to a decision about who to nominate the name of the person to nominate for the PACE Awards from our commission. So I open the floor up to nominations for us to consider.
I guess I'll kick it off. This will take a little time, I believe. I nominate Maria Casasco.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Now I'll ask the secretary to take the roll so we can see.
Chairman
sorry.
Chairman Peterson, can I also nominate someone for the group? Because I would like to nominate Laura Gutierrez.
Gutierrez, so okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Drake Smith.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that nomination.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. Madam Secretary,
How do I do this? You are
You're
on mute.
muted.
That may be intentional. It's not going to work.
I'm sorry. I believe we'll take each individual nomination up as they were nominated, and we'll see how many votes they get. Does that make sense?
Are we individually allowed to vote for only one person, or are we allowed individually vote for all three? How do we distribute our votes?
You can vote for one, all three, or none. Okay.
Not going to work.
Why are we saying, Eugene, that we can vote for all three?
Pardon?
Why are we saying we can only have one nominee, right?
That's right.
So why are you allowing people to vote for three?
To see who gets the most votes, Mark, and then maybe it's like any number.
You'll find out if you just ask one by one of the three, you'll see who gets the most votes.
No.
Well, can we possibly consider this, because I really don't know the procedure of how we normally decide on the nominee. But there was a reason why I nominated Laura. And so for those who place their nominations out there, can we have them advocate as to why we did so, and we can then go into a voting stance or a voting session as to selecting one? Do we need to select one tonight?
Yes.
To move forward? Okay.
If you want.
I just have a question. So total, how many nominees do we have? Three? Maria Casasco, Laura.
No, we have 6 nominees, but for the purposes of voting, we only have 3, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
3. Okay. Yeah, I'd be glad to start off, since I nominated her, and speak to Ms. Casasco. I've known Maria for a long time, worked with her in the county. I was impressed that Mary pointed out to me that she came in closely to getting awarded the last time they were making the awards. She is a pillar of the Latinx community. Her work was foundational in getting attention for that community and helping it grow and thrive. She's not a politician. She works with Democrats, Republicans, Independents. Her main focus is bettering the community. And she has a great life history, if you look at her story, in terms of how she came to Anne Arundel County and had to almost reinvent herself because of the restrictive nature of our educational system and how they accept degrees and requirements from other areas. Mm-hmm. She has raised a family and done good work. So that's why I nominated her. Okay. Who nominated, I guess Katie would be Ms. Gutierrez?
I believe Commissioner Hatcher technically nominated.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm happy to give Commissioner Hatcher the floor, and then I would be happy to support whatever statement they give.
I was going to ask that you also speak on her behalf as well. So the reason why I nominated Laura was I was very impressed on how we were actually going through a crisis in the city of Annapolis, and how she was so active and persistent with getting involved in a community that needed an advocate that would speak the language for other people to understand. And to also, I was impressed with the fact that she was able to raise, what was it? It wasn't 5. She was the second largest grant to help with formulating health clinics and getting PPP out to neighborhoods that house minorities. I was just impressed with just her tenacity and wanting to not just sit back but be actively a part with this pandemic, and making sure that people were being taken care of. So that's why not I nominated her. I was really impressed with the black and white on paper, as with everyone. But she really stood out to me. Katie, do you have anything to add, being that you know her more on a personal level?
Absolutely, Commissioner Hatcher. Thank you so much. Laura, one, is just a delight to work with. During my time working at the city, I never saw them stop. They are a mother to a very young child, and oftentimes had that child on the meetings with John Hopkins and the county and the city, and was just juggling all of it. So just a very large tribute to the determination and the passion of saving people's lives, which I think we can all relate to. And within the last year and a half, anybody who has gone forth with that effort created funding from an informed scientific perspective. I want to uplift that energy that was given to us and prevented the loss of life. So an absolute incredible person. And one thing that I also want to uplift is that Laura will always take the time to translate for those around her, no matter how long it takes, no matter how uncomfortable other people are. And that sort of presence is necessary, I think, in the time we're at right now, to make sure that we include everyone in our community, and that if it takes time, that's okay.
Katie, can I ask you a question before I talk about Drake? Did Laura do this as part of her job with the city? Was that part of her job to search out grant funding, or did she do that outside of her job?
She did it within the position of her job, but it was rather undefined. So basically, there was presented with the task of connecting with the Hispanic community, and was able to jump into this very proactive response to COVID and formulate that department around education, PPE, and then vaccination clinics.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I nominated Drake because I was impressed that such a young person had, showed such passion. And he not only worked with, as a member of the Board of Education, not only advocated for students, but he went beyond the students, and he worked with various communities like the LGBTQ plus community, Black Lives Matters, working with the police department and reaching out to the county executive to ensure that the police officers had body-worn cameras. So he reached across different areas within the community as a young person with a voice. And so I was very impressed by that. He could do a lot of other things as a young person. He could have been at home, doing his video games on social media, saying this is not my job and it's just for the adults to take care of. But he showed such passion in what he was doing and what he believed in, and what he did made a big difference, and it continues to make an impact on not only young people, but across the community. And Tara, if you want to add to that, because I don't know Drake, but I was impressed by Drake.
Hey, if I can add to your comments about Drake, many times when I was working with the Board of Education this year, I felt like Drake was the only adult on the Board of Education in their discussions. And so I was extremely impressed by him as he's a young man that we're going to hear more from, Thank you.
Tara?
Yes, I would love to add on to this. Commissioner Gaskin, you really kind of hit it right on the head right there. He is a very passionate young individual. I think it's really important to note that I believe he was active in years much before he applied for the board. He was involved in CRASC, again, Let's Talk Justice. There's not much report on it, but I do know, if I can reach out to some CRASC members to see how many years of involvement. I know he's had some positions. And I think that his involvement in all the communities and making sure that everyone has a place in our county is very important to note. Thank you.
All right. Did I miss any nominees? I think we got them all, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we start with the first nominee, Ms. Casasco, and we'll call the roll, Mary, and go from there.
I support Maria Casasco being our nominee for the PACE Award.
Okay.
The next person I'll call on is Tosin.
I support Laura Gutierrez.
Next person I'll call on is Commissioner Hatcher.
I support Drake. I done switched up my vote.
Okay, this is talking about not just three, but everybody we nominated is so extraordinary. Thank you, everyone. So let's go on to Commissioner Peterson.
I support Ms. Casasco.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Edwards.
I support Laura Gutierrez.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Call.
I support Drake.
Thank you. Commissioner Apter.
Support Maria Casco.
Commissioner Clapsaddle.
I support Drake Smith.
Thank you. Commissioner, please forgive me, I'll be better next time. Laura Langade Farinas.
That's perfect. Thank you. I support Maria Casasco.
Thank you very much. At this point, the student member is not offered a vote, but we do have 4 votes at this point for Maria Casasco, 2 for Laura Gutierrez, and 3 for Drake Smith.
Oh, me.
Oh, Commissioner Gaskin, I'm so sorry, please.
No
But
problem.
I know what happens now.
I support Drake now.
Thank you very much. So we have a tie at this point between Maria Casasco and Drake Smith. What do you want us to do, Chairman Peters?
Go to a vote off.
A vote off. Okay, let's do a vote off. And again, this time I'm going to try to get everybody. Commissioner Tosin, the candidates at this point are Maria Casasco and Drake Smith.
Mario Casasco.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatcher.
Drake Smith.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm making my notes. Commissioner Gaskin.
I don't want to unmute. Drake Smith, please.
Okay, Commissioner Peterson.
Maria Casasco.
Commissioner Edwards.
Drake Smith.
Commissioner Call.
Drake Smith.
Mary DeJoni supporting, recognizing Maria Casasco. Commissioner Apter.
Maria Casco.
Thank you. Commissioner Clapsaddle.
Drake Smith.
I can't do it twice in a row. I'm going to try. Commissioner Laura Langade Farinas.
Maria Casasco.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes for Maria Casasco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes for Drake. We've got 10 voting members here today.
Mm-hmm.
Flip a coin.
Pardon?
Flip a coin.
No, I guess what we'll do is we'll ask the administration to do 2 plaques, and we'll have 2. We'll have PACE Award winners. That's the way I see it. That make any sense, Asha?
Don't bring me in it now.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You're in it.
Well, let me
I
say
think we
this.
need to have a winner, not a group of winners.
Well, we've
I
had
agree with Mark.
If you have a group of winners, it lowers the credibility of the award.
well in the past, organizations have sent more than one awardee to the MLK breakfast. So, I mean, it's up to the group what you want to do.
Commissioner Peterson.
Flip a coin or allow our student to vote.
We don't have the power to allow our student to
No,
vote.
can't do that.
With this is a vote, not a motion. Therefore, I move that we send both names forward. Is there a second? You have to go over the second, Chairman Peterson. I'm sorry.
You're right. Is there a second to her
I said that.
motion to Secretary Daydoni's motion?
I second it.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Gaskin. Why don't you take the roll on this one, Mary?
Okay, the motion is to advance both names to the committee. Commissioner Tosin.
Support.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatcher.
I support.
Commissioner Gaskin.
I support.
Commissioner Peterson.
Support.
Commissioner Edwards.
I support.
Commissioner Call.
I support.
Commissioner Dodoni supports. Commissioner Aptar.
Oppose.
Commissioner Clapsaddle.
Opposed.
Commissioner Farinas.
Support.
Of all 10 commissioners present voting, 8 in favor of advancing both names, 2 opposed to advancing both names.
Okay, so that's what we will do. Thank everybody for helping out with this, and especially much thanks to Commissioner Vice Chair Clapsaddle and his subcommittee. Did a great job reviewing the nominations and getting us to the point that we're at this point in time.
It's nice to have an abundance. It's good to have an abundance of.
Yes, I agree. I don't have any announcements. Our next virtual monthly meeting will be November 18th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Any member of the community that would like to attend this virtual meeting should go to the Human Relations Commission section on the county website for more information pursuant to the Maryland Open Meetings Act requirement. At this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. We should not do that. You have a report, Commissioner.
And I also want to ask about an issue of old business. So the report on the Board of Education. There have been one formal Board of Education meeting, I believe, since our last meeting. They are meeting again tonight, and there was a Board of Education workshop that was held Monday night. The public discourse did not take place at the workshop. It was not part of the workshop. It continued at the Board of Education meeting, the last Board of Education meeting. Public comment, which continues to center heavily around the topic of whether there should or should not be mask mandates within the school system, and concerns about vaccinations and health. Those meetings are recorded and available for everybody to watch. The most recent Board of Education meeting, while still contentious, was less representative of I have heard both Saturday Night Live skits and Jerry Springer show. It was conducted more in closer to accord with what we anticipate from a structured meeting of a serious body. The workshop focused on the teaching of social studies and civics issues. Critical race theory was specifically addressed. Other topics were as well. It began with a presentation from the AACPS administration, particularly Dr. Maisha Gillens of the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement, and Dr. Batten and Dr. Case both participated in presenting what topics are taught and how they are taught. There were others who participated then in a question and answer period. The questions came from the Board of Education and were addressed to the panel. The panel responded. Critical race theory received a lot of attention, to the point that many people were very concerned about the distinction between critical race theory and culturally responsive teaching. I would advise anybody who is concerned with this topic to watch the presentation at least, which ran about 45 minutes out of the 3-hour meeting. If you are concerned about what perception is among the board members, you would likely want to watch to the end of the meeting. I will call out one item that sticks with me that summed up where some of the misunderstanding, to even say misunderstanding is a judgment. Dr. Joanna Tobin's statement that some members of the board seem to be assuming that if someone reads a book by an author, that means that the person who read the book or is invited to read the book necessarily, or a person who recommends reading the book, necessarily agrees not only with everything the author has said in that book, but everything the author has ever said about the topic. She challenged that assumption and stated it so everybody could see it as an assumption. And then she went on to say that she believes education in Anne Arundel County is about teaching children how to think, not what to think. That distinction was echoed by the various responses to many questions by the administration. I offer this summary because the next thing I want to raise as old business is a decision by this body at our last meeting to consider how we want to engage with the topic of critical race theory. And I know there was a subcommittee meeting. I do not know if we are ready to have a presentation on that.
Yes, sorry about skipping around on the agenda tonight, but that would have been the next topic after the PACE award decision. And I will summarize the subcommittee, and other members of the subcommittee can chime in if I misrepresent or forget anything. We had a very good discussion. The major point was we felt we could not just say, well, we'll just let this go. We won't do anything. There was the desire to address the issue. A couple of ways of doing it were talked about. One way would be to write a statement, as we did upon the murder of George Floyd, and post that statement on our webpage. And even if we do other things, there was strong desire that the committee actually outline, the commission actually outline what they believe are important aspects to stress in discussing this issue. Part of that might have been included and it could be in a statement that was included in our testimony before the county council. And also, I presented a statement for the school board in terms of critical race theory. Those two could be amalgamated, worked on by the subcommittee, and then presented to the commission for a decision as to whether to post it as is, amend it, or not do it at all. Another idea would be to incorporate presentations during our meetings that would help the community understand the different aspects of this debate on critical race theory. And that could happen over time during the year in our committee. The idea that had the most support, I believe, and subcommittee members can chime in after I end speaking, was the idea of looking at what we did with the hate bias forum and putting together something similar in terms of a discussion about critical race theory, with the emphasis being on what it is and what it isn't. And looking for co-sponsors that would try to not politicize the discussion. So therefore, you'd have co-sponsors like the public library. There's a interfaith council that the county executive has created that could be part of this co-sponsoring group. The United Black Clergy would definitely be a group that would be interested, along with the county NAACP chapter. And you would hope that the public school system would be a co-sponsor and would also have a panelist for the forum. But I can't speak for the public school system on that count. So with that, I'll open it up for any of the subcommittee members to chime in. Commissioner Daydoni.
I'm very much in support of the forum. I've received from the community requests about whether or not we were going to do this, and just random requests that were, hey, Mary, who's going to do this? A sense that this is needed. I believe we also considered the possibility, should consider inviting the community college to participate. They were active participants in the hate bias forum. I believe the hate bias forum presents a good model, but I don't want to jump to the solution. I want to recommend we accept the responsibility to hold a county-wide forum to present information on critical race theory, what it is and what it is not, and invite a variety of speakers, and then take the job spearheading that by putting together a coalition of interested parties who would then do the planning.
Is that a motion, Mary? Commissioner Daydoni?
I would like to make that a motion, if it
I
is
would
acceptable.
second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Clapsaddle. Commissioner Apter?
I just said seconded. So.
Oh, you did. Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Apter. Beat Commissioner Clapsaddle, I guess. Boy. Okay. So as I understand the motion, it would be to create a committee with seek out co-sponsors and then the planning of the event. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So what we would need is either the same subcommittee or another subcommittee from this body to begin that work.
I'd like to work with the same subcommittee.
This member of the subcommittee would like to work with you.
Okay. And I assume that the others would.
Me too. I agree.
Agreed.
Okay. And remember, we can only have 5, so we're limited to 5 members, which we had last time. Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Voted unanimously. Okay. As I said earlier before I jumped the agenda, our next monthly virtual meeting is on Thursday, November 18th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And hopefully by then we may have a report out on the proposed critical race theory forum. Any member of the community who would like to attend this virtual meeting should go to the Human Relations Commission section on the county website. And with that, I want to thank the members of the commission for your participation tonight. I would move for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved
Seconded.
Moved by Commissioner Saddle, seconded by Commissioner Daydoni. Since it's a non-debatable motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
All right. Again, thank you so much. And everybody else who tuned in, thank you too. And good night to all.
All right.
Good night,
Everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Eugene, will you be, oh, he just left. Eugene,
What?
will you be sending out an invite for the
Yes.
subcommittee to?
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.